bring them down.
Ooh, just a little bit.
Bring them.
So I can tell you.
If this happens, I feel like a G.
Ooh, but it ain't happening yet. It ain't happening yet.
My hands are moving.
Because we ain't practiced this.
But no, look, my hands are moving. So anytime it starts going down, it's gonna look like I did it on purpose.
Okay.
Or it's gonna look like I'm. Got arthritis.
Okay, here we go.
Ooh, it's almost going down.
Absolutely.
Okay, my hands started getting tired.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Go.
You was trying to give me one more second.
I was like,
Nope. But no, literally. So I'm from Dallas, Texas, right? Yeah, thank you. I've never been there, but I've heard of it. So, yeah. But my grandmother, she literally lives in this small West Texas town called McCamey, Texas. It's about 6 hours away from Dallas West. And I was visiting my grandmother. I'll never forget, I was 7, and I went there for the summer break, and I had an older cousin. She had to be like 20, 21 years old. Well, she had a best friend, and her best friend was dating this guy. They got into a domestic dispute, and he literally went out to the car. He worked for animal control in this small town, and he got a gun. He came back, he shot her, and he shot himself. She ended up surviving, so my cousin's friend survived, but the young man died. So this is a small town. Literally everyone knows everyone in this town. So I'll never forget, 7 years old, my grandmother tells me, we're gonna go view the body of the young man. Okay.
it's still a stranger to you.
I don't know this guy. I don't know him. Never seen him a day in my life. This is my cousin's friend's boyfriend. And so we go, and I'll never forget, we walk into the sanctuary of this church, and there's a casket at the front of the church, and it's me, my grandmother, and my grandmother's friend. We walk up to the casket, and laying there, it was this guy. He had on a light gray suit, a white shirt, and a really thin black tie. And I remember looking at him and just thinking that he was asleep. Like, he didn't look like, I guess what I thought at 7 someone would look like that had shot themselves. And I remember asking my grandmother, I was like, Nana, why does he look like he's just asleep? And she's like, oh baby, they do a good job at this funeral. Like, you just make sure I come here when it's my time. Okay, a little morbid.
She know what she wants.
She know what she wanted. But what got me was her friend. Her friend, my grandmama had to have been about 65 about that time. So her friend was probably the same age demographic. This woman looked at me and said, Dalen, have you ever touched a dead body before? Oh, well, yeah, old lady, I be touching dead bodies all the time in my spare time. No, of course, I've never touched a dead body before. Do you know this woman grabbed my hand? I promise, this woman grabbed my hand and put it on the chest of this young man in this casket.
You just got jumped into their game.
Oh my God.
Or it was child abuse.
It was both. It was both. They should have called them people on my grandmama, man.
Her friend is childish.
Oh my God. I'm looking at my grandmother like, first of all, you're too old to be hanging around bad influences. Like, what are we talking about? Man, I jacked my hand off this body and ran out the sanctuary, like screaming. Later that night, listen to me.
When was it?
It was later that night, Jordan. I was laying on my grandmother's couch in the living room, fell asleep. It had to be about maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I wake up, listen, I'm gonna raise my right hand to God. I woke up and I looked in the kitchen, and standing in the doorframe was that same young man with that same light gray jacket, white shirt, and a thin black tie. And he was just staring at me. And I screamed the loudest I'd ever screamed in my life. My grandmother came running in the room. I'm on the couch, and you know she had that plastic on the couch. I'm sweating at this point. I'm stuck. But she grabbed me. Oh my God. She grabbed me, shook me, was like, boy, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And all I could do was just point at the door frame. And she turned around. Literally nothing was there. I couldn't explain it.